We're going to bring the kids back in later on, and we're hopefully going to have communion as a response to hopefully my kōrero today. Is that cool? If not, you can stay. No. Hey, last week, Leighton, I call it putting something down for us, for an opportunity for us to pick up. So Leighton last week put down something for all of us to pick up, and it was an opportunity that I'm hoping that some of us maybe took up. And that was the opportunity to take up our cross, to deny ourselves, to pick up our cross and to follow him. Matthew chapter 16. And Leighton, I just want to thank you for putting that down for us. And the reason why I call it putting it down, and I use this with my staff and my team quite a bit, I'll put an idea down. I'll put a suggestion down. But it's our free will, it's our decision whether or not we pick it up. And this morning I have the opportunity again and the privilege to wrap up Hebrews chapter 11. So we've been going through the book of Hebrews, and we've been kind of camping for some parts at Hebrews chapter 11, which are the heroes of faith. And as you can see up there, seeking the hero this generation needs. I think we can all agree in one form or the other that Aotearoa New Zealand is broken. I think we can all agree on that. Where we'll probably disagree is why it is broken. And we're not getting into that. And as a church, if we ever get into the reasons why it's broken, other than sin and the lack of God in people's lives, then I'm out. Because everything else doesn't really matter. And so I want to give to you this morning an opportunity. Like Leighton did last week, we're going to put it down here and we're going to finish with communion. Are you willing to be a hero that this generation needs? And are you willing to be a hero that this community of Taupo needs? And you might be going, yeah, I do. Well, let's make it personal. Are you willing to be the faith hero your family needs? Because this is what it's all about, right? We've seen the encouragement from Hebrews chapter 11 with all these men and women of God that have been recorded down as part of history, faith history, but also as an encouragement for you and I for today. And some of these men and women, they died because of their faith. And it's easy for you and I to say, yep, we would die for our faith here in Aotearoa because we are free. We've just celebrated Anzac, right? We've just remembered the men and women who went to war, who died for us, for that freedom. Would you die for God? Because this is what Leighton has been saying last week. This is what we as the teaching team have been putting down for you as the church over the book of Hebrews, is that no matter what happens in your life, is God number one. Through the good, the bad, the ugly, and just the plain sailing, is God your number one? Because in the Hebrews 11, all the men and women that are outlined in Hebrews 11 had faith in God, full stop. And they sacrificed, some of them, their lives for it. How is your faith this morning? What is faith? Let's just chuck it all in the melting pot. Everything that we've learned over the last couple of months around Hebrews and Hebrews chapter 11, let's chuck it all in the pot and let's bring it to the boil and let's see what we come out with this morning. What is faith? Well, faith isn't a blind shot in the dark. It isn't positive thinking. How many books are out there around positive thinking? If you think it, if you believe it, it'll happen. Faith isn't positive thinking. Faith isn't arrogant. How many Christians do we see walking around with that arrogance? right? Christ wasn't arrogant. He had humility. He walked it. There was abundance of it. It isn't presumption. It isn't gullible. I love that, right? Faith isn't gullible. You and I are not gullible people. But the world would tell us that if we believe in an invisible God, some of my work friends call it my imaginary friend, then we're gullible. I do say to one of my work colleagues that, well, if he's an imaginary, well, look me up when you see him face to face at the end of your life. Then we'll decide who's gullible and who's not. This is what faith is. Faith is confidence in God, a firm conviction that what he says is true. That book in front of you, the Bible, do you believe everything that is in there? That's faith. Everything that God has spoken into your life, do you believe that? That is faith. Everything that's going on in your life now where God is kind of transforming you, is challenging you to be better, a better person in him. Faith. I love Hebrews 11. It gives this definition. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. Such a beautiful, beautiful definition from Hebrews chapter 11. I want to give you five hopefully fun facts from Hebrews chapter 11 that hopefully we have gleaned out of the series as we've gone through it. Ooh, turn that on. Now push the button. Right. Chapter 11, verse 1. Faith builds assurance and conviction. Are you assured? Do you have convictions? Hands up if you don't have any convictions. Not criminal convictions, I mean. I don't want to know about those ones. Oh, do you know? No, just joking. Just seeing if you're awake. See, faith drives out doubts about our past. Who's made a mistake? Yeah. Who's still holding on to that mistake? Deny yourself. Pick up your cross. Follow him. You see, the faith that God gives us, faith in God, allows us to just let it go. Those past mistakes that we've all made, let it go. It is done, it is dead, it went to the cross. Let it go, you're forgiven. Let it go, it's okay, you've made a mistake, that's fine, it's okay. You're alive today, let it go. Because faith in God gives us the ability to let go of the doubts of the past, right? Are you insecure about your today? What's happening in your life today? What's going on today? Are you feeling a little bit rocky? Are you feeling a little bit insecure? Draw on your faith. Faith in God gives you security in today. That's what faith does. Are you fearful of what's going to happen tomorrow? Are you fearful of what's going to happen tomorrow? Faith in God casts out all that fear. The fear for tomorrow. That's what faith does. Are you wanting to hang on to faith? That is such an awesome, awesome promise. Second thing, faith faces the future with confidence. Again, in verse 1, it gives you and I hope. It gives you and I the ability to stand firm in the midst of the gale-force winds of trials. I can guarantee you one thing, probably two things, but I won't say the first thing, is that you and I are going to face some hardships tomorrow. And they're on a spectrum, right? Hardships are on a spectrum, right? And hardship for me, I might be challenged with my children. That I actually have to stand up and be that man of God, that father of God, as opposed to get into your room, Emma. You know what I mean? There's a spectrum of hardships. Anything that's outside of God's will and God's grace is going to be hard for us. Hold on to that faith because it gives us confidence, it gives us a hope, and it gives us a future. Jesus Christ. Deny yourself. Pick up your cross. Follow him. Faith focuses on an invisible reality, right? We know where home is. Do you know where home is? You can't chuck it into your Google app and go home because you can't get there yet. But we know where we're going, right? If you believe in Jesus Christ, if you've confessed your sins, if you know that his body was beaten and broken and his blood was shed, that he went to the cross and that he rose again from the dead because God, his Father, caused him to raise from the dead. If you completely and utterly, 100% believe beyond all reasonable doubt that he is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, then you have a home that is outside of this, the flesh stuff. It's outside of this world. And the Bible tells us, right, Jesus says there will be a new heaven and a new earth, our home. Faith gives us the ability to focus on home. Ooh. And finally, not finally, faith fulfills its purpose in pleasing God, right? That's us. When we rely on God, when we have faith in God, it actually pleases him. That relationship back in the garden, it was between us and him. It wasn't supposed to be any other way. He created us to be in relationship with him. He created us so that we could rely on him. Faith. And faith fixes our lives fully on God. And that's what I love about Leighton's message last week. What are you relying on? What are you focused on? This morning when you woke up, what was your focus? What was your purpose? Is Christ at the center of all that? So how do we build our faith? Hopefully, again, with melting pot, I want to give you 3 things, right, before we head into communion. How do we build our faith? Like Abraham, Sarah, and Moses, do you trust God? Like, do you completely 100% trust God? Whatever you're going through at the moment, do you completely trust God? And will you do whatever he tells you to do? Trust. There was this man who was out for a walk, not in Aotearoa, but he was out for a walk. And he came across a tiger, and he was like, uh-oh, tiger. He decided to gap it. Never gap it from a tiger, because the tiger chased him. Right, chased him and chased him. He kept running. The man kept running. Tiger must have been slow. And the man came to this cliff. And he's got this cliff here and the tiger there. He's like, oh no, what am I going to do? And he looks down this cliff and he can see this branch just there, a little bit down the cliff. And so he thought, I'm going to jump. So he jumps and he manages to catch the branch. And he's holding onto the branch thinking, I'm safe. And then this mouse comes running out and starts chewing at the branch. And he's like, oh no. He's looking down. He's like, man, if I fall, I'm going to die. And so he calls out, God, 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 save me. And this voice, which was God, said, do you trust me? And the dude holding the branch goes, I trust you, I trust you. And God says, let go of the branch. And the dude's like going, hey? He's looking down to certain death. He's looking up and he sees this growly tiger. He's like, you want me to let go of the branch, God? Yes, I do. The dude thinks for a couple of seconds. He looks up. Is anyone else up there to help me? Don't we live life like that? See, trusting God 100% is actually looking at his Bible, digesting his word, being considerate in prayer, and being open to his advice and his input into our lives, and then just doing it. But how many times do we do all that, and we don't like the answer. And so we go looking for it somewhere else. See, Abraham and Sarah and Moses, as we read throughout the Bible, they had faith. They had trust in God no matter what. If you want to build your faith, trust. Trust in God and God alone. See, the moral of the story is Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, right? We know it. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him. And what? And he will make your path straight. Without God, we lack eternal perspective, right? The dude holding the branch, I don't know. Maybe there was something, maybe there was a gust, I don't know. But I wonder what the story would say if he let go of the branch. See, our view is dim and our insight is so limited. And that is why we need God in our lives. This is why we must be willing to let go of the branch and trust God. What branch are you holding on to at the moment? Maybe at the moment there's a tiger and there's a cliff and you're that dude or dudess holding on to the branch. And God's saying, let it go. Let it go. Deny self. Take up your cross. Follow him. Like Abel, Enoch, Noah, and Rahab, obey God. Trust and obey goes hand in hand, right? We know the story about Jonah, eh? Jonah, man of God. God said to Jonah, I want you to go to this place and I want you to tell them that I'm not happy with them, that their lives aren't a reflection of God's character. And so what did Jonah do? He gapped it, right? He gapped it the other way. He found himself a boat and I thought, I'm going to escape from God. I'm going to go as far away from God and his will in my life as possible. And God sent the storm on the boat, didn't he? And the men on the boat, they didn't know God, but they knew something wasn't quite right because of the storm. And Jonah came to a place of repentance where he said, I know why this is happening because I've been disobedient to God. And the men threw him overboard, right? And right then, God could have said, see you later, Jonah. Done with you. I'll go find somebody else. But Jonah was asked to do something by God. And whilst Jonah was disobedient, God gave him an opportunity to turn that back around into obedience. And so God sent a fish, and Jonah, oh, woe is me in the belly of the fish. Lord, I'll do what you would. And so God caused the fish, right, to spew Jonah up on the beach. And off Jonah went, right? He went and delivered a message. But here's the punchline. Jonah only went to deliver the message because he feared God. He didn't completely love God, I believe. He did it out of fear, and he definitely didn't love the people that he was going to tell about God, right? Because he sat on a hill wanting to see them get destroyed. What's your obedience like from God, to God? Is your obedience like Abel and Enoch and Noah and Rahab, where you just obey, right? Where you trust and you obey? Or is your obedience out of fear or service to God? What's your heart? See, obedience is a heart reflection. Do you love other people? Because Jonah, he didn't. He learned the hard way, I think. See, obedience is our way of saying to God, we love you. And all the people in Hebrews chapter 11, all the people that have been recorded in the book, in the Bible, they had trust, they had obedience. Can I just encourage you to trust and obey? I said this over Easter where I was having a bit of a corridor. Trust and obey or gap it the other way, right? You got two choices. Trust and obey God, or you gap it the other way. Don't get stuck in the middle. Don't be that guy or that girl. Don't get stuck in the middle. Don't be lukewarm. If you're going to be hot, be hot. If you're going to be cold, be cold. Deny yourself, take up your cross, follow him. And lastly today, like Gideon, Barak, Samson, David, Samuel, and all the prophets, have courage. Have courage. Are you courageous in your faith? And here we can be, right, because we're safe. We all share similar views and similar ideas. But do you have courage? See, God knows that you and I need courage. Just like these ones in Hebrews chapter 11. I love Psalm 27 verse 14. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Wait on who? God. Be of good courage. The Hebrew word wait means trust. Trust on the Lord. Be of good courage, hand in hand, right? To be of good courage, it possesses an inner quality that enables a person to confront danger. It enables you and I to let go of the branch. That's what courage does. Faith gives you and I courage. You know, you and I can be of good courage and not be afraid because the Lord is the strength of our lives, right? Do you believe that this morning? Do you actually 100% believe that the Lord is the strength of your life? In Jesus Christ we have peace, right? John chapter 14 tells us that. A lot of people are going to hate us. And as this world deteriorates, we're going to be hated more because we love Christ. Why? Because he is good. He is good. He's not lukewarm. God's standards are firm. They do not move. And so people are going to hate us for loving God. But we should be of good courage because God is our protector and defender, Psalm 46. We don't have to be afraid because we're secure in the Father's love, 1 John chapter 4. When God is for us, nothing can stand against us, Romans chapter 8 verse 31. And nothing, absolutely nothing can separate you and I from the love of the Father. Romans chapter 8 verses 35 to 39. What's the worst case scenario that this world could chuck at you and I? It's death, right? The worst case scenario. And a lot of these heroes in faith, they died because of it. That's the world's worst case scenario, but for me, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? We're going home, right? So if the world's worst case scenario opens us up to eternity with the Father, what else can the world do? Like, really? Those heroes in Hebrews chapter 11 knew exactly where they were going. They knew exactly who to trust. They knew exactly who to obey. And they knew exactly where their courage would come from. What about you? Do you know where that comes from? How is your faith? Pulse check. I think the pulse is somewhere here. How's your faith? Do you trust God completely? Do you obey him? Do you have the courage in which it gives him? Hebrews chapter 11 is a record of great men and women, right? It's a record of great men and women who had faith. The faith that you and I can have in same of measure. They were just humans like you and I. The only reason why they're heroes is because they had faith. They weren't better than you and I. In fact, they were you and I. They just had faith. The encouragement of Hebrews chapter 11 that I leave with you today is that we can have enduring hope to let go of that branch if we find ourselves firmly Christ-centered. And so as Leighton left last week, I want to leave it again this week. Jesus Christ said in Matthew, if you want to be my disciple, deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. Because this generation, it needs heroes. Are you going to be that hero? Like really, are you honestly going to be that hero? Your families need heroes. My kids need heroes, not just the old man or the old lady, but other people, a community of faith. Taupo needs heroes of faith. Aotearoa, New Zealand, needs heroes of faith. Will you be that hero this morning? What's going to happen is I've come across this, I've been given this little Bible written by Rob Bellingham. He's a Rotorua boy. And I want to just, as we go and grab the children, because we're going to have communion with the kids. So what's going to happen, the kids are going to come in. I'm going to just read parts of Hebrews chapter 11. It's poetry. Hopefully I can rhyme it. We're going to play some music, and I want to invite you to respond. I want you to come forward with your families or just as you are and take communion. And it's in a way of saying, I'm going to deny myself today. And moving forward from today, I'm going to deny myself today, God. And I want to acknowledge the sacrifice that you gave so that I can come to you. And as you're taking communion, can I just encourage you to pick up your cross? Ask God, what is my cross, Lord? What is my cross for me to carry? And then take the juice and take the cracker and just spend a bit of time. You're going to have 6 minutes. Spend 6 minutes between you and God. Some of you might have to let go of the branch during this time. Hebrews chapter 11, a legacy of faith. The ancients were commended for living faithfully, for having hope, certainty about what we can't see. It's by faith we understand that God was responsible for the universe, bringing material from the invincible. Faith helped Abel make a better offering than Cain. His example still speaks to us through he was slain. For his faith Enoch was translated and did not die. He pleased God with his life. That is why. We all need to have faith in God, existence of God. He rewards all seeking him through it. Seems a little bit odd. Noah had faith when he constructed the ark. He saw the light. The rest lived in the dark. Abraham needed faith to follow God's call and to go to a new place where he didn't know at all. Like Isaac, Jacob, and after him he lived in a tent. He dreamed of a city made by God's intent. All of these heroes lived by faith, not by sight. They looked forward, not back or to left or right. They longed for a place where they could find rest. God will give them a city that is simply the best. Extreme faith was required when high up a hill, Abraham prepared to kill Isaac to fulfill God's will. But a ram was found that he sacrificed instead. Isaac, unbound, was like returning from the dead. Faith prompted Moses to share Hebrew pain rather than enjoying Egyptians' pleasures, riches, and fame. Lots more had enough faith to beat all the odds. They trusted the Lord and rejected all